Rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and the republic
which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. I'd like to take a moment of silence out for Kathy Parada, who worked in the senior center for many years, passed away last week. She was a smiling face for over 16 years there. Kathy was the face for every party, to be dressed for every party. And she was always there for us, and we thank her for all her many years of services, and she'll be sorely missed. Thank you. Roll call. Jeff Renahan.
Jeff Renahan, first ward.
Bill Carlos.
Bill Carlos, second ward.
Michael Safone, fourth ward.
Stefan Krakauer, fifth ward.
Ann Schurshin, sixth ward.
Alicia Salvatore, town clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town with.
Sarah Ryan, Vandewater and Vandewater.
John Baisley, town supervisor. Welcome everybody for attending tonight's town board meeting. On tonight's agenda, resolution 1 will be set date for a public hearing for executive order 203, police reform. 2, approve the bond resolution for highway. 3, set date for public hearing, motor service facilities. 4, approve a vacation rollover for Zani, Centerani, and Lane. 5, approve Crazy Andy's Flea Market. 6, approve appointments to Board of Assessment Review, Katrina Rocco and Tina Biakis. 7, approve Daniel Simmons Water Department promotion. 8, approve Dominic DeMilto Water Department hire. 9, a waiver liquor license for BurgerFi. 10, appointment of Simona Cohen, alternate position on the ZBA. 11 will be pulled from tonight's agenda. 12, appoint Thomas Lynch to Climate Smart Committee. 13, authorized vendor exemption due to COVID-19 for Vassar College and Marist College. 14, special consents, SC1, rezoning, set date for public hearing for rezoning of 8 Tucker Drive. SC2, authorized the supervisor to sign Douglas Fishman professional services agreement to help the planning board with a wireless communication facility. SC3, authorized the supervisor to sign a water storage agreement with USEF Tyranda LLC Red Tail Project in East Fishkill. With that, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody who would like to discuss any item on the agenda?
Doreen's raised her hand.
Doreen? Go ahead, Doreen.
She's still muted.
Okay, I should be unmuted now.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jay, I have a question about SC3, the water storage agreement. Is that for the Amazon warehouse in East Fishkill?
To the best of my knowledge, Doreen, I'm going to say most likely, but it's referred to as Red Tail Project. Nobody's told us it's actually Amazon, but I think it is.
Okay, yeah, because I know that USCF Tyranda was associated with the Amazon warehouse in Fishkill.
Yep.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I did send an email to the town board, but it was not until this afternoon. It's about the agenda item number 5 for Crazy Andy's Flea Market. So I spoke about this in 2019 when they came before the board seeking a permit. I sent in comments for 2020. I'm going to make same comments now with just a little different suggestion. I would suggest that the resolution for the flea market be amended to include conformance to town regulations regarding signs as a condition, because the applicant repeatedly has violated town code when it comes to placement of prohibited signs around the town. And again, it was noted at both the 2019 and the 2020 meetings, town board meetings. And, you know, it seems that there's a lack of consequences, and therefore there's no incentive for the applicant to conform to code. So I request that the board take into consideration that they put some sort of conditions on this permit. And then the question is SC1, the public hearing rezoning for 8 Tucker Drive, is that just to set the date?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because after the last time that they were before the board, I got a chance to look at the materials that the town clerk sent me the next day, and thank you for that. And you know, right off the bat, I had some questions about it, including who the actual owner is. The applicant shows up as Lepore Real Estate Holdings, and it says that Daniel Lepore is the only member on the application. But then there's a resolution in there, and also on the county website that shows that the owner is 8 Tucker Drive LLC, with the sole member being Giuseppe Lepore, who I believe is former Councilman Joe Lepore. So, you know, like I said, there's a number of discrepancies, and but if this is just to set the date of the public hearing, I will wait and bring up my concerns then. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Anybody else? You see anybody else, Mike?
No one else raising their hand, no?
If not, motion to resume the rules?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Renahan.
Whereas Governor Cuomo on June 12, 2020 issued Executive Order 203, the New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative, requiring municipalities to engage in a comprehensive review of and to seek community input regarding the development of a plan for potential modifications of their police and deployments, strategies, policies, procedures, and practices in an effort to improve police-community relationships based on trust, fairness, accountability, and transparency, and to reduce any racial disparities in policing. And whereas the town is actively engaged in seeking input, conducting a review, and developing an Executive Order 203 response and draft plan, and whereas the draft plan has been prepared and annexed to Exhibit A hereto, now therefore be resolved that the draft plan shall be posted on the Town of Poughkeepsie and Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department website with notice that further public input and comment will be received at the Town of Poughkeepsie Town Board meeting to be held at Town Hall, 1 Over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, on March 3rd, 2021 at 7 p.m., at which time said draft plan will consider for ratification, adoption, and further amendment. And be further resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby determine that this action is a type 2 action involving the ongoing administration of the town, and it requires environmental review. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? Well, before
Is
we
that
vote-
actually going to be a public hearing, Jay?
Yes.
It just says notice for public input. It didn't really say hearing, but then on the first page, it has a blank. So.
Yeah, March 3rd should be a public hearing, correct, John?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should
It
change
just didn't say the word public hearing in the resolution, that's all. I was just wondering.
We'll make a change, set a date for public hearing on March 3rd. Is there a
Okay.
second on that?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, this has been like more than 6 months in the making. If you read into this, all the work that's gone into this, whether it was the towns involved, the police agencies, the county, the state troopers, all the different stakeholders that they interviewed, including, you know, town board members and everybody that was involved in this. This was a long process, and the presentation that the police department put on for all these meetings is available if anybody needs to see that. We have that. We met on a bi-weekly basis with the county, with all the other stakeholders throughout the county to do this. This was a long, drawn-out effort. I think they got some good results in the end out of this, and got a lot of support for our police department out of this. And also, they've taken to heart what came about in this, and recommendations of the changes that we should make are in this police plan. So everybody please read it prior to our public hearing. If you have any other questions, please try to send them to me or the police chief, so we have an idea of what's coming up, so we can try to address them for the date of the public hearing. Because this is supposed to be done by April to go to the state. All those in favor?
Hey, Jay, I can't hear you that well. I don't know if your mic isn't that close or
No,
it's.
maybe my lack of voice. I mean, is that better?
Oh,
Is that better?
yeah, that is a little better.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's probably I'm losing my voice.
Okay.
Well,
And did
Sorry
Bill
about that.
Carlos second that?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Mr. Carlos.
Resolution number 2. Bond resolution subject to permissive referendum. At a regular meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, New York, held at Town Hall in Poughkeepsie, New York, in said town on the 17th day of February at 7:00 p.m. prevailing time, the meeting was called to order by Supervisor Baisley. And upon roll being called, should I actually read this?
No,
Roll.
you can just say 6 present, 1 absent. That's fine.
6 present, 1 absent. I should read the bond resolution, right, Mr.
Correct.
Counsel?
Yes.
Okay.
Start the next
Unfortunately,
page.
yes.
All right. Bond resolution dated February 17, 2021. A resolution authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the reconstruction of roads throughout and in and for the town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $5 million, and authorizing the issuance of $5 million bonds of said town to pay the costs thereof. Whereas all conditions precedent to the financing of the capital project hereinafter described include compliance with the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act have been performed, and whereas the capital project herein described as proposed has been determined to be a Type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, promulgated pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which regulation states that a Type 2 action will not have any significant adverse effect on the environment. And whereas it is now desired to authorize the financing thereof, now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County as follows. Section 1, the reconstruction of roads throughout, in, and for the Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, New York, including curbing, landscape, and other right-of-way provisions, drainage, and other incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, is hereby authorized at the maximum estimated cost of $5 million. The plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimate cost is by the issuance of $5 million bonds of said town, hereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 3, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid class of objects and purposes is 15 years, pursuant to subdivision 20C of paragraph A, section 11 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the serial bond herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4, the faith and credit of said town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, New York, are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and the interest on such bonds, and as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such year. There shall annually be levied on all taxable real property in the said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section number 5, subject to provisions of the local finance law. The power to authorize issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale of the bonds herein authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor of said town, the chief fiscal officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, forms, contents, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said supervisor, consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 6, All other matters except as provided herein relating to the bonds herein authorized, including the date, denomination, maturity, and interest payments dates within the limitations prescribed herein, and the manner of execution of same, including the consolidation with other issues, and also the ability to issue bonds with, with substantially level or declining annual debt service, shall be determined by the supervisor, the chief fiscal officer of such town. Such bonds shall contain substantially and recital of validity clauses provided for in section 52 of the local finance law, and shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals in addition to those required by section 51 of the local finance law, as the supervisor shall determine consistent with the provisions of the local finance law. Section 7, the validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if, 1, such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2, the provisions of law which should be complied with at the date of the publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, or 3, such obligations are authorized in violation of provisions of the Constitution. Section 8, this resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for the purposes of Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2. Other than specified in this resolution, no monies are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in full summary or in summary in the form of the official newspaper said town for such purpose, together with the notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in section 81 of the local finance law. Section 10, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. The question of the adoption and foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote on roll call vote, on which results are as follows.
Do we have a second?
Second? Yeah. Motion and second. Roll call. Jeff Ranahan,
Aye.
Bill Carlos,
Aye.
Mike Safone,
Aye.
Stefan Krakauer,
Aye.
Ann Shershen,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Motion passes 6-0.
Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.
Number 3, whereas by local law of 10 of 2020, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie enacted a 90-day moratorium on the acceptance and processing of applications for the consideration and approval by the Town Planning Board of site plans and special use permits for motor vehicle service facilities, which include gasoline filling stations or sell gasoline, the issuance of building permits for such uses, and the consideration, approval, and issuance by the Zoning Board of Appeals of variances and interpretations relating to motor vehicle service facilities, which include gasoline filling stations or sell gasoline, subject to certain exceptions and subject to extension. And whereas the Town Board has commenced a comprehensive review of the Town of Poughkeepsie zoning code as relates to motor vehicle service facilities, which include gasoline filling stations or sell gasoline, and is currently working with the board's consultants to consider possible amendments to the town zoning code. And whereas it is the town board's desire to complete its review of the zoning code and the subsequent development, consideration, and ultimate adoption of any proposed amendments in a deliberate and appropriate manner, and whereas the 90-day moratorium is set to expire on or about March 7th, 2021, and it is anticipated that the town board will need additional time to complete this process, and accordingly the town board desires to extend the current moratorium for an additional 90-day period, and whereas the town board determines the extension of the moratorium is a type 2 action not subject to environmental review pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5 C36. Now therefore be it resolved that the recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein, and be it further resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby set the 3rd day of March 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Overrocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as the time, date, and place of a public hearing at which all parties in interest and citizens may be heard as to whether or not the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie should adopt the proposed local law annexed hereto, renewing the temporary townwide moratorium as described therein for an additional 90-day period, a period of 90 days, subject to one final extension by this town board, and be it further resolved that the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby waive the verbatim reading of said proposed local law and does hereby direct the town clerk to spread the proposed local law across the record as if it had been read aloud. And be it further resolved, the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby direct the town clerk to refer a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, and the notice of public hearing to the municipal clerk of each abutting municipality not less than 10 days prior to said public hearing, and to refer a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, and the notice of public hearing to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for an advisory review in accordance with 239M of the General Municipal Law, and to distribute a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, and the notice of public hearing to the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board for its review and recommendation pursuant to Town Code 210-154. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to post a notice of the public hearing in the town's official newspaper, the Poughkeepsie Journal, and on the bulletin board maintained by the town clerk in Town Hall not less than 10 days prior to said public hearing. So moved.
Get a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the rollover of 15 days of unused 2020 vacation time to 2021 for Frank Ozani, and 5 unused days 2020 vacation time to 2021 for Rebecca Santorani, and 7 days of unused 2020 vacation time to 2021 for Sandra Lane, with the understanding that these days will be used by April 15th, 2021. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Motion passes 5-1.
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application from Andrew Dollinger, Jr., ABA Crazy Andy Flea Market LLC, to hold a flea market from May 2021 through October 2021, dates may fluctuate, to be held at 900 Dutchess Turnpike, Poughkeepsie, New York, owned by Phoenix Poughkeepsie LLC, and be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application as submitted. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one?
Well, we did have a question.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor.
Go ahead, Mr. Carlos.
I'd like to make an amendment to this resolution that such permit is void if the signs put up around the town by this entity are found to be in violation of the town sign ordinance.
Does somebody else have something they wanted to say too?
Well, I was just gonna mention the signs, as Doreen said. We should put down, this should be in compliance with the town zoning sign ordinance.
How about all town ordinances?
Okay, that's fine.
No.
Okay.
So who's moving that? Bill or Mike?
Who's gonna move?
I'll move it with the amendment.
You second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All right, all's in
No,
favor?
the amendment is just that they need to be in compliance with all town ordinances, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the town, no, and the town sign ordinance.
No, Bill.
No,
we're
no,
gonna
no,
do-
we said all
It's gotta be in
ordinance.
compliance with all town
All.
ordinances.
All ordinances is fine, that would include the town sign
Correct.
ordinance.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
And the point being that if it's found not in compliance, that the permit is at that point suspended or void.
Correct.
Otherwise, it has absolutely no teeth.
Okay. So it would be conditioned on compliance with all town,
Ordinance.
probably local laws.
Okay.
Okay.
If they violate, they would be subject to being written for those violations. And I'm not familiar with this operation, but I think that they come here, and you could, if you found that they hadn't complied, what you're approving now is for May through October.
Right.
And so if there
Right.
were a violation, I think the operator or whoever puts the signs up would be subject to sign code violations, and that you could also rescind this,
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
yes.
I think we got the
Okay.
Bill.
Yeah.
So if they are in violation, they're subject to be cited by zoning, that's fine.
Yes.
In addition, their permit would be suspended. Maybe until such time as they're all corrected. I don't know what the right wording to use is, Mr. Council.
Okay, so it'd be conditioned on compliance with all town laws, failing which this resolution shall be voided. Now, the problem
Okay.
is, who's gonna decide whether there really is a violation?
Doesn't he get a right to
The
a
zoning
hearing?
administrator, that's the person who would issue the violation notices in the first place. I'd be perfectly comfortable with that.
But
But I
don't we have to
specifically want to have the words in it that say town sign ordinance.
I think the town board could pull that if we get a notification from the zoning administrator that they're not in compliance with the signs.
He also has a right to a hearing here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, the zoning administrator also has her procedure because she issues an OR and they get 30 days
Right.
to correct it, so that seems to be fair.
Yeah.
And then if it isn't corrected, then we could take additional steps.
Correct. 'Cause we could
But
bring it back to
Ann,
the board.
my only concern is that then the violation can continue for 30 days. Then we have a hearing. That's like,
I don't think we
Wasn't the issue that was raised was that they had previously violated the sign ordinance, correct?
Correct.
consistently and frequently, yes.
Right, so I guess maybe it should be in this situation that if there is a violation, then the authorization is revoked pending town board reapproval.
That could be fine. That would stop it
Because-
immediately. That's fine.
Because if we don't amend it at all, they're in the standard process where if they have a sign violation, it goes to the zoning administrator. So if we're trying to increase the teeth in this, we should probably indicate that they can't have violations because there was a previous issue.
Okay. As long as the impact to the signs is clear so as to prevent them from doing the violations in the first place.
Right.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Okay, let me try this. Application as
Jim, do you
submitted.
want us to adjourn this for better wording?
No.
Well, okay, if this doesn't work,
Good.
seriously, we can come back, but what I wrote down was conditioned on compliance with all town laws, comma, including the town's sign law, failing which this resolution may be voided by resolution of the town board with the town reserving all other remedies. And the all other remedies is the ability of the zoning administrator to write.
That works.
I'll second that.
That works for me.
Is that all right?
That works.
That works for me, yes.
Sure.
Mike's gonna second that. And then on the resolution itself, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion, resolution passes 6-0, both of them. Who's next?
You.
Be it resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby appoint Katrina Dolores Rocco for a 5-year term expiring September 30th, 2025 to the Board of Assessment Review. And be it also resolved that Tina Vackus is hereby appointed to the vacant position on the Board of Assessment Review, which term expires September 30th, 2021. So moved.
Second?
Second.
With motion second, any questions on this? Both of these, I reached out to Dutchess County Board of Realtors for some applications and some interested parties, and both of these came in from there. Tina is here tonight, and so you understand, Tina, one term out there expires September 30th. Being you were the second person on the list, is this how we did it? So once the September 30th is up, if things work out and you're still interested, we can go forth from there. But both of these were from Dutchess County Board of Realtors, where they both came in. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Jennifer Mund also interviewed both of these candidates, being that she wanted to make sure they could get on board for grievance day this year. Mr. Renahan.
Be resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby promote Daniel Simmons from the position of laborer to water maintenance mechanic, with the Town of Poughkeepsie Water Department effective February 3rd, 2021, an annual salary of $54,700. Such promotion being subject to probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this promotion. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions?
I just want to congratulate Daniel for working hard and moving up, getting promoted.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 8.
6-0.
Be it further
Go ahead, Bill.
Be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Dominic DeMilto to the position of full-time water maintenance mechanic with the water department at the salary of $2.50 per hour. Effective March 3rd.
$20.50, Bill.
Yeah,
$20.50 an hour.
It's a bargain if we could get them for that.
I believe in being fiscal conservative, but okay. To repeat, with the water department at the salary of $20.50 per hour, effective March 3rd, 2021, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of a request on behalf of Burger Fi, 60 Raymond Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of the 30-day review period for liquor license applications, and be it further resolved that the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions?
No, just welcome back BurgerFi. I'm glad to see that they reopened.
I agree. It was a big hole, and nice to
Yeah.
see Vassar work to get him back in there.
Yeah.
All those in
Felicia?
favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Felicia, can you tell me who seconded that, please?
Stefan,
And
Me.
Okay, thank you.
Stefan.
Oh, for this?
All right, you can give it to Stefan.
Okay, I heard you.
Okay.
I didn't hear you, Ann.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Simona Cohen to the alternate position of the town of Poughkeepsie zoning board of appeals, which appointment would expire February 17th, 2025. So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome aboard, Simone.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie.
Number 11's
11
withdrawn.
Yeah, I went to 12.
Oh, okay.
I'm on Tom Lynch.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
They all sound the same when you
Well,
start.
they all start out the same.
Sorry about that, yeah.
That's okay. Be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Thomas Lynch to the position of Town of Poughkeepsie Climate Smart Committee, which appointment would expire on February 17th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any
Yeah, and
que-
he has a very impressive resume. It's going to be a really good fit.
Yeah, he was on our CAC years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, very good, and welcome him back. We look forward to working with him, and Climate Smart interviewed him and thought definitely a positive fit for that
Yeah.
position. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Whereas the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received notification from Vassar College and Marist College that the campuses will again be closed to unauthorized visitors in order to work to keep students on campus and limit visitors due to the pandemic. They will bring various vendors for a variety of events and weekly activities. And whereas the presence of vendors for food or other products and services is one part of the overall effort to effect campus-wide control of the pandemic, now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does not consider vendors of food or other similar products and services who are participating on the Vassar campus or Marist campus as part of the effort to control the pandemic to be subject to the town's standard peddler and vendor permitting requirements for the remainder of the 2020-2021 academic year, and are therefore exempt from the provisions of Chapter 151 of the Town Code. And be it further resolved that this exemption does not apply to events held which are open to the public. The Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby grant the town clerk the ability to extend this exemption for purposes stated above. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Felicia, thanks for following up on that.
No problem.
Okay, be resolved that the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit. 1, set date for public hearing, rezoning 8 Tucker Drive. 2, authorized supervisor to sign Douglas Fishman Professional Service Agreement regarding a wireless communication facility. 3, authorized supervisor to sign water storage agreement with USEF Aranda LLC regarding Red Tail Project in East Fishkill. And be it further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the town board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 6-0. SC1.
Okay. Resolution, my copy says 501?
SC1.
That's SC1.
It does look like that a little.
Okay. Whereas the town board has received an application from Lepore Real Estate Holdings LLC requesting that zoning for a tax parcel number 626203-194055 located at 8 Tucker Drive, Poughkeepsie, New York, in the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of approximately 11.5 acres, be changed from shopping center business B-SC to light industrial I-L designation. And whereas the proposed amendment is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendment and does direct that said amendment be spread across the record as if it, in fact, had been read verbatim. Whereas the town board has determined that the proposed amendment must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and the Town Planning Board for review and recommendations. And whereas the town board has examined State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, regulations, and has determined that the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board, through its site plan review and approval authority under Chapter 210 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code, has extremely broad governmental powers to investigate the potential environmental effects associated with the application, and has the experience and capability necessary to conduct a thorough environmental assessment of the action. And whereas amending the zoning map requiring a public hearing, now therefore be it resolved that, number 1, the town board has determined that the action should be subject to a coordinated review because the proposed use of the property will, among other permits and approvals, require site plan approval by the town planning board. Therefore, the town board consents to the planning board acting as the lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. 2, town board refers this matter to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to General Municipal Law 239M. And 3, the town board refers this matter to the town planning board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 210-154. And 4, the town board hereby defers setting a public hearing on the proposed zoning map amendment until it has received a recommendation and a determination of significance pursuant to secret from the planning board as a lead agency. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas Verizon Wireless has applied for a use variance from the ZBA to allow the construction of a wireless communications facility commonly referred to as a small cell tower on the roof of an existing building at White's Marina in New Hamburg. And whereas in order to properly evaluate the project, the ZBA will require specialized analytical services. And whereas Douglas Fishman, RF, engineering consultant, has proposed to perform those services at a rate of $200 per hour with a cap of $5,000 plus reasonable disbursements to be paid out of the applicant's escrow. Now therefore be it resolved that contracting for these professional services is a type 2 action requiring no secret review. Be it further resolved, town board hereby authorizes and ratifies the ZBA's determination to contract with Douglas Fishman on the terms which it has proposed, including insurance coverage consistent with the town's standards requirements. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to execute on behalf of the town of Poughkeepsie an agreement for water storage capacity between the town of Poughkeepsie and USEF Tiaranda LLC for a project located in East Fishkill, New York, and known as the Red Tail Project in substantially the form annexed and as acceptable to the supervisor in consultation with the attorney to the town. And be it further resolved that entering into this agreement represents part of the ongoing administration of the town of Poughkepsie's affairs, involves no change which would create a substantial adverse environmental impact, and is a type 2 action requiring no secret review. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. This is for only a potable water. It's only 28,000 gallons of potable water. It's not for their processing water or anything down on the project. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody that would like to discuss any item?
Doreen's got her hand raised.
Yeah, Doreen again.
Go ahead, Doreen.
So Jay, I have a question about the police reform. So, yeah, and I did not get a chance to read the document. So is public comment being accepted still on that document?
No, that period stopped, Doreen, but if you have any comments you have personally or anybody does have, we'll look at them so we can try to address them at the next meeting. It's not something that is still in the document. The document is done. But as you know, with a public hearing, we could make some changes. So if we can get any of that up front from anybody that's got any comments, it would be preferred. If somebody has something they see in there that they're not clear on what it means, we'll talk to anybody about that. But the public hearing is definitely where that should come. But we want people to be able to let us know ahead of time so we can try to look into and do some research on it if need be.
Okay, the only question about the police department that I had, which I had asked you, Jay, and you explained, I was not clear if they, if the town police used body cams, and if that was being considered as part of the police reform. So that was my only question, and you answered that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Does anybody got any comments from the board before I read this resolution? No? Be it resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the followings: discussion regarding proposed pending or current litigation. Redl, Miller, Pedersen.
Mercanti and Pedersen,
Yep. What was the second one you said?
Miller, Mercante.
Mercante, Pedersen, okay. The proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property when public publicity would substantially affect the value, to discuss matters which are exempt under the open meetings law, including matters subject to attorney-client privilege. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Town board goes into executive session at 7:43 PM.